Production, had you blocked on location? Had you taken the actors out, or did you burn a couple days of production to do that and say, you know, don't worry, we're going to put something in the can tomorrow because we're going to get it now?
No, we had no days of production to burn, that's for sure. No, we would go out usually the day before that particular set piece. Either it was on a weekend or the day before we'd start, and we'd do a really rough blocking. And then we the next day you show up, it's production day. Then you do another blocking, and this time without any of the, and the day before as well, no camera, certainly the A camera wasn't going to watch, because Barry doesn't want to see where any actor's going to go. He wants to discover it for the first time. So the first take is always the most critical. In fact, probably most of the movie is the first take, every single sequence. And then it's a process of discovery, and I would change up the cameras at every single take, and therefore they weren't completely sure where the cameras were going to be. And so there was so the actors were very confident in terms of what their blocking was, but the cameras were constantly discovering. So that's why, the kind of look in the piece is very, it's not kind of manufactured. That's actually really discovering what the sequence is as it's unfolding in front of you.
And I don't know how many directors are here or how this audience breaks down, but I mean, the really masterful thing about this and about the way you've done it is I'm just a freak for geography in the movies. I can't stand in a movie where I'm supposed to know where everything is and I don't know where it is. And I don't think you can make people really feel lost or confused in a movie if you haven't established some credibility as knowing that. So when we're really lost, when there really is chaos, it really feels that way. You're breaking out these locations. You're in Jordan. How do you? Who armored this movie, and how did you bring all these weaponry into Jordan? I remember trying to bring weapons into Ecuador. We did a movie in Ecuador where you had to bring in, half the weapons that you had to do. How do you work in Jordan on the streets with guns?
Yeah, it was really hard. I have to say though, before we get to how it worked in Jordan, I think the most critical decision that led to the early success of the movie was actually shooting in Amman, Jordan. Catherine Mark and I went on a scout to Casablanca, Morocco, and I think the early assumption is if you're going to make a movie in the Middle East, shoot in Morocco where you have a lot of film infrastructure there. And we went and we looked, and Catherine said, this is North Africa, and it's not the Middle East, and there isn't an Arab population. And then Mark hooked up a connection in Amman, Jordan, and the two of them went afterwards to Amman and called me back in the States and said, this is where we need to make the movie. And I think had we not done that, there's no way that we could have delivered what you were talking about in terms of the geography. The ability to shoot 360 degrees, you could not have done in a place like Morocco. You could not have done in Arizona or New Mexico or any of the other places that the financiers were pushing us to shoot in South Africa. And so it really was about that. But to answer your question, it's really hard to get. It's hard to get arms into the Middle East.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to get fake movie prop arms. It's really hard to get ammunition and explosives, and which led to one of the funniest and most tragic elements, I think, is that our special effects coordinator, Richard Stutzman, who was brilliant, couldn't get his materials in time to create the explosives, and so he was using a lot of Chinese fireworks, and he was grinding up the gunpowder on the set to create some of the explosions. And there was an accident one day, and kind of went off, and one of the special effects guy got hurt, but he was okay at the end. But it was just a reminder of how difficult it was to operate within the constrictions of a place like Jordan.
So, what did you've burned some film? What if you had done this film second? I mean, what was the big get from knowing all the things that you know about coming here for this? I mean, you know how to make tension. You know which takes to pick from the actors. Obviously, you obviously have a really deep understanding of the tempo of a movie set and everything that can go wrong and go right. But what was the real big get that you brought? What was the thing you were? That is a sort of ambiguous. What kind of tree are you? Question, but
that's a good question. I don't quite know how to answer it. I would say that I certainly could not have done it had I not had a certain body of work behind me. Could never have imagined doing it. And I suppose in retrospect I'd say confidence. You have the confidence that you can pull it off. Not that it's necessarily based on anything, but it's like you have the confidence you can do it.
And what did you? I'll turn this over in a minute. But my last sort of, you always worry about the wrong thing. Everything I've ever done, I've always worried about the wrong thing, right? And then something else comes in by. What were you really worried about that didn't materialize on this, or is that not your? You know what I mean? How you're always like, oh God, it's going to be this actor, or we're never going to get the thing, or this, I don't know this, or it's going to be this, and it turns out to be. Was there some really unexpected difficulty that was surprising along the way?
Like every
Writer. You could say no. We can just
no. To be honest, I think the real X factor was the heat. And putting Jeremy in a 100-pound bomb suit every day in, day out, and just being very sensitive to him and his comfort level and his, whether or not he was conscious. That was probably the biggest challenge every single day.
And what an amazing performance! He's not here to see. I thought the performance. I thought all three of you were just incredible. And